I'm so sorry. There's nothing I can do about it. Right now, sister-in-law is standing before me, offering a heartfelt apology. How did this all happen? Well, the story goes back about a week. My name is Clara. My husband runs a hot dog stand. His name is Osmond. We met at the hot dog stand my husband used to run. He owned a small hot dog stand near the train station right on my way home from work. I would get hungry after work and often buy a hot dog there. He initiated a conversation and we started dating. After a few years of dating, we got married. The first time I met sister-in-law, who is now apologizing deeply in front of me, was at a family meeting. Nice to meet you. I'm dating your brother. Please treat me well. Nice to meet you. I'm not perfect. But I'm sister, so please be kind. At that time, I thought a nice person had come into our lives. Brother runs a reasonably large company, and sister-in-law is the one who supported him, so he said. He spoke highly of her, calling her a solid and good wife. But a few years after brother got married, sister-in-law's true nature began to show. Every time she came to visit her parents' house, she had more designer items, and her social media was filled with photos of luxury hotel lunches with friends and designer cosmetics. We let go as long as it didn't affect us, but eventually sister-in-law began to demand persistent comments. Sister-in-law, why don't you comment on my social media? I only browse. Don't you have any pictures to post? No, I use social media to gather information and look at others' posts. Wouldn't it be nice to comment once in a while? Maybe, if I feel like it. Please comment at least once. I'm not doing it just because you tell me to. I was annoyed with her constant requests for comments, so I started ignoring her for a while. Then she said in a small voice, "You're such a buzzkill. Boring." From that moment on, I decided to avoid sister-in-law more than necessary. I wanted her to understand that I wasn't the type to get overly friendly, but she was thick-skinned and kept asking for comments several times afterward. Ignoring her each time, she finally gave up on the comments. Since we rarely met, I thought I could spend my time comfortably, but whenever I went back to my parents' house, our schedules would coincide, making me feel depressed every time. It happened again during my recent visit home. Sister-in-law, what do you think of this bag? It's cute, isn't it? It's a brand new collection. I'm not interested in that sort of thing. Come on now, every girl loves brand name bags, don't they? I genuinely had no interest in brands or expensive accessories, but it seemed to have struck a nerve with her that I wasn't envious. She said, "You don't have to pretend. If you're jealous, just admit it. I can even give you my old one." I was actually disinterested and annoyed, so I replied, "I really have no interest. Besides, I think those things are best left to those who like them." What's your problem? Stop being so stubborn. She snapped and left without waiting for my brother to return. When my brother got home, I protested because I thought her behavior was too much. Hey, can you do something about your wife? What happened? She made a comment that clearly looked down on me earlier, and it made me really uncomfortable. What do you mean? I told him all about her constant nagging for compliments, and her condescending remarks like offering to give me her old things. Recently, she's been treated like a CEO's wife by her housewife friends, and I think it's gotten to her head. I'll have a firm talk with her too, but I'd like you to handle it smoothly. I don't want to fight either, but I don't feel like we can be friends. Just remember to keep our relationship to that of relatives. I understand. Sorry for the trouble. I want to say it's not your fault, but she's your wife. Just remember that it affects your reputation. I understand. After that, we lived peacefully without meeting. There were a few occasions, like weddings or funerals, when we had to meet. Every time I kept my distance, and she seemed to understand, which made me feel relieved. However, during the greetings for my wedding, I was reminded that people don't really change. When my husband and I were getting married, we had a family introduction dinner with my brother and sister-in-law, my parents and my husband's parents. Even sister-in-law, I thought, would not say anything inappropriate in such a setting, but she messed up. By the way, what kind of work do you do? I run a humble hot dog stand. Oh, really? A chain? No, it's an independent shop. A hot dog stand? That's not even part-time work. Hey, come on. But it's a hot dog stand, right? Even if you were the manager of a chain store, it's still just okay. At that point, brother was pale, and our parents were staring at sister-in-law with disbelief. Are you going home now? Yes, I'm heading home. Aw, come on. I wanted to hear more about the hot dogs. I was furious at sister-in-law's mocking tone. Look, I've been wanting to say this for a while. Can you please stop making fun of people in the way you speak? I'm not doing that. Yes, you are. You're overthinking it. But it seems I'm intruding, so I'll make my exit now. With that, she clicked her heels and left. But I kept glaring at sister-in-law. I'm sorry. I apologize. She wasn't always like this. It's fine. I know my job is easy to make fun of, so I'm okay with it. I'm truly sorry. After that, there was a brief bout of apologies, but the meal without brother's family ended in a harmonious atmosphere. Even after the meal, I kept apologizing to my husband, but he seemed unfazed by his easygoing personality. When I went to brother's house alone to hand over the wedding invitations, sister-in-law said, "Oh, a hot dog vendor, but you're holding it in such a big venue." What does being a hot dog vendor have to do with it? Can you afford a dress change? If you have complaints, don't come. I don't mind going, but really? She said, her tone mocking throughout. If this attitude continued, I was ready to tell both of them that they didn't have to come to the ceremony. But there were certain circumstances with brother, so I allowed them to attend on the condition that sister-in-law absolutely wouldn't approach me. And then the wedding day arrived. The wedding day was held in a relatively large venue. During the ceremony, sister-in-law was well behaved, either due to having some sense of decency or because brother had scolded her. The ceremony ended without a hitch. The reception was mostly over, and we were in the midst of casual conversation when the incident happened. As a crowd gathered around the bride and groom's seats, a drunken sister-in-law approached. She gulped down the champagne in her hand and loudly proclaimed, "A hot dog vendor's wife is headed straight for a low-life existence, isn't she?" The room went dead silent at her words. Sister-in-law, oblivious to the recoiling of those around her, continued to disparage my husband. Then, from a little distance where he was chatting, brother flew over and yelled, "You, what are you saying?" But it's true, isn't it? Being a hot dog vendor's wife is pretty low, right? She spent her life filthy in front of the kitchen. That's how it feels.
You just shut up.
Why are you defending her? It's the truth, isn't it?
At that moment, my husband stood up and said, "You. It's over."
What?
Right then and there, brother turned to those around and offered a heartfelt apology. "My wife is really very sorry."
No, I understand your family's way of thinking well enough. What? What is it? What's going on?
Listen, the guests at this venue are people who have invested in brother's company or are business partners.
What?
What have you done?
But why? Why would a hot dog stand owner invite such people? They're not your customers.
Osmond, you see, runs a hot dog stand as a hobby. He's an investor, far wealthier than us, and holds a much higher position. He's been investing in my company and even made contracts because my sister was getting married. You've ruined everything.
No way!
Yes, my husband's true identity is that of an investor. He found success at a young age and started a hot dog stand as a hobby while continuing his investments. However, he mostly entrusts others with the work. He has a large network but lives modestly without any extravagant lifestyle. I was surprised when I found out he was an investor, but I admired his attitude of being wealthy yet living modestly and only spending money on what's really needed, which led me to marry him. After that, brother took sister-in-law away, and the event ended early, blaming a sudden illness in the bride's family. Of course, any after-parties were cancelled. Sister-in-law was summoned to a family meeting. The result was the apology at the beginning. As a result of the family meeting, it was the majority opinion that future dealing should be avoided if sister-in-law is around. Although they acknowledge brother's work, they think that trouble will eventually rise if sister-in-law is present. I agree with that. After all, it did become a big issue.
Please forgive me. I apologize.
I want to protect the company, and I can't go on with you. Divorce. You can ruin someone's wedding and still ask for forgiveness? Impossible. If you're here, I can never enter this house again. Divorce. I can't either. I can't associate with someone who thinks like that. The family's opinion was consistent. If sister-in-law is involved, it's impossible. If anyone had taken her side, they would have had to think about the future, but fortunately everyone agreed. The compensation will be offset by the cancellation fees for the after-party and the post-party, as well as the return of the gifts. Your family has been notified. Pack up and leave by this weekend.
What? Why do we have to pay for that?
Of course you have to. We couldn't hold the after-party or the post-party, and we had to return the gifts because you ruined the wedding. We're all business owners, so the amount of money is significant. If you don't believe it, look at the recorded amount. Indeed, the amount returned was quite large. First, most of the attendees were business owners, and since many of them had invested in the husband's company, many were generous with their gifts. The total amount came to about $50,000. Honestly, I thought if we had this money, we could completely offset the wedding costs, but that's the secret. Sister-in-law was breaking down in tears after seeing the recorded amount, but it was none of my concern. You should have behaved yourself.
But I didn't know.
You shouldn't look down on people just because you didn't know, and you shouldn't judge people by their profession.
But you said you were a hot dog vendor.
I didn't say anything wrong. I was going to explain later, but you're the one who made a fuss.
You didn't even tell me about the people at the venue. You were planning to be mean from the start.
If you were truly involved in Brother's work, you'd certainly recognize those faces. No need to tell you. Besides, if you were really friends with me, you'd know who was coming and what positions they hold. Yes, she only supported Brother at first. After that, she seemed to focus on having lunches, dinners, practice sessions, and fun with the president's wives. So she didn't know the faces of Brother's business partners, nor did she know about her relationship with her husband. She didn't even know what kind of work Brother was doing now. If she had been working with Brother, she should have known who the business partners were, and normally, she should have supported him as an entrepreneur's wife. But sister-in-law said,
I'll work hard on my relationships with women. So you work hard at your job. Entertaining the president's wives is part of the job.
And she didn't seem to listen. Though he tried to tell her several times, sister-in-law maintained an attitude of,
I'm doing my best on my own.
And it seemed like Brother had given up.
You're the one who cut off the friendship.
I don't like your snide remarks. They belittle me. Besides, you don't normally say things to diminish the groom at someone's wedding. You keep it to a greeting.
Wah!
Sister-in-law was sobbing like a child, but it had nothing to do with me. Sorry. But can you take her away quickly? She's noisy. I apologize, but my daughter's parents are coming here to pick her up today.
What's that? You never intended to forgive her in the first place?
Of course not, because I'm turning a blind eye to your overspending, so be grateful. Or shall I charge you the $80,000 for the overspending? It won't be offset. Inwardly, I thought, so, she overspent beyond our means, huh? But I felt a little lighter knowing I didn't have to deal with sister-in-law anymore. After a while, sister-in-law's parents arrived and tried to apologize deeply at the entrance, but I said, I don't need that, and I don't intend to forgive her. Can you please take her back quickly? Sister-in-law's parents simply said, We're sorry, and took sister-in-law away. Later, I received a DM from sister-in-law on social media.
I'll never forgive you for stealing my glamorous life as a CEO's wife. You're rich, so pay me $100,000 as compensation for ruining my life. Or let me meet Brother and tell him that I've forgiven him. So we should remarry. I'll forgive you for ruining my life if you do that. And send me gifts for the birthdays and anniversaries you've missed. I'll forgive you if you send me some of the latest designer bags.
The DM read. I quietly forwarded it to Brother. From what I heard, sister-in-law seems to be living alone in a small apartment, having even been kicked out of her family home. Apparently, after the divorce, she'd written something like a contract stating that if she ever tried to contact me or Brother, she would have to pay a used-up fee, and since she broke that agreement, sister-in-law received a bill for $8 million. Sister-in-law tried to get her parents to pay, but sister-in-law's parents were a typical middle-class family. Even though she's their only daughter, it was not an amount they could casually pay. As a result, they told her to pay it on her own, and that they knew nothing about it, and she was driven out of her family home, now persuaded by Brother for repayment. For a while, I kept an eye on sister-in-law's account, but whether she ran out of photos or her friends found out about the divorce, sister-in-law's social media account was gone before I knew it. As for me, I'm working happily with my husband. The work is tough since it's a new job, but chatting with my husband's investment clients and students after school makes it enjoyable. Since my husband isn't fond of luxury, we live a modest life together. The other day I thought I saw sister-in-law. She looked completely different from her once neat appearance, wearing saggy old sweatpants and cheap slippers, carrying shopping bags. I thought, if only she had listened to what people told her, this wouldn't have happened. But I decided it was a waste of time to feel sorry for her, and stopped thinking about it.